Hi friends, this is Mrs. Basin. Today we're going to do a lab where we measure how many calories are in a Cheeto by burning the Cheeto. So what we have here is a Cheeto. The initial weight of this one, we're going to do two trials. So the initial weight of this one is 1.28 grams. This is my calorimeter. Inside of the can, there's 100 milliliters of water. And then right now I have a temperature probe that's connected to the computer over here. So my initial temperature is 23.7 degrees Celsius. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start collecting the data so that it collects the data as the temperature changes. And then I will post this video of this recording along with this so you can watch that as well. So what we're gonna do here is set the Cheeto on fire. And then as we do that, we're gonna see how much heat is released, and that's gonna be measured by the temperature change in the water. Okay, now as we're doing this, kind of keep in mind what are some things, or what are some sources of error that you could come up with? Because anytime we do these experiments with heat, there's the potential for a lot of heat to be lost. So if you watch this, in the lab, you're gonna have to talk about what sources of error were. So as you're watching this, what are some potential sources of error that are going on here? I'm gonna light this a little more here. And we're gonna do this twice. So this is our first trial. So already our temperature has gone up to 24.6. So you can't see a huge change in the graph yet, but we'll let this burn as best it can here. Okay, now we're at 28.4. You might even be able to see some of the heat kind of coming off the side here. So again, think about sources of error as we're watching this. Where are there potentials for heat loss? Because how we're measuring this is the heat that goes directly into the water. After this is done, we're gonna take the final weight of the Cheeto, so the burned Cheeto, what was left, then you're gonna subtract those two values to figure out the actual amount of Cheeto that was burnt. Okay, then I'm gonna take this Cheeto off and I'm gonna put it on the scale over here and I'll subtract out. There's 0.25 Cheeto left. So my initial weight was 1.28, final weight was 0.25. Okay, now we're gonna do this a second time. So I have another container of water. Still has 100 milliliters in it, so it's still 100 milliliters of water for trial 2. This time, the Cheeto weighs 1.33 grams. Okay, I'm gonna start my, okay, so I'm gonna do a new one. Okay, so now we're ready for trial 2. My initial temperature on this one is 29.1. I'm gonna do the same thing here. So again, still had 100 milliliters of water in here. My Cheeto this time was 1.33 grams. So you'll be able to see when you see this graph, you'll be able to see that the temperature is going up. Again, think about what are all the potential ways where you could have sources of error here. So this time we made it up to 60.9. Actually 63.5 is where I stopped it. We're gonna take our final weight, put it over here on my balance, subtract out the paper clip, and I've got 0.17. So initial for the Cheeto was 1.33, final was 0.17, and then you'll subtract those when you do the lab. Okay, so then what you're gonna do now is you're gonna figure out how much heat was released for the burning of that particular Cheeto for each trial. Then you're gonna convert it to calories. Then you're gonna compare it to the label on the back of the Cheeto bag. So there'll be a picture of that nutrition label, and you'll do some calculations with that. All of that, I walk you through all of that in the lab itself. I've got all the formulas pre-set out for you. So work through that, do the best you can, and let me know if you have any questions. See you guys.